Return to Glory podcast. Hunter Zarb, Nikki Austin, Rose, Dakota Freetag. 5 weeks over. Nerves are creeping in for Indiana, the ranked Hoosiers on the road. I'm going to the game, leaving tomorrow morning, which means we're probably going to lose.
I know we're going to lose because of that. That's why you kind of said with a spooky voice, you said, return to glory podcast. It's a little spooky to it because we're going to get walloped while you're there.
You sitting in your deck right now outside, Hunter?
My new deck. Nice fall weather outside.
I would be amazed if that was your actual porch. You would not go through that much effort to decorate your porch with that many pumpkins.
You don't think I'd buy all these pumpkins that are sitting behind me?
I feel very confident that you would never put that many pumpkins on your porch.
How far drive is it to Bloomington?
10-hour drive.
Oh, that's not as bad as what I thought. No, that's not bad.
Kansas City, go through St. Louis.
Yeah.
Southern part of Illinois, and then
you head south?
Head south. It is not. We are. Bloomington's a little bit south. Dak, let's test your geography. Latitude, longitude line.
Oh boy.
Which?
What'd you say?
Which one's which?
Which one's which?
You're heading dead south. That's all I know.
Okay.
No. That wasn't even the question I asked, but we're going to move on.
You're going to get a good answer.
Indiana week. Kurt Cignetti, Cigar Boat, whatever you want to call him, head coach of the Hoosiers, having a little bit of Indiana preview. He came from James Madison. Big time usage of the transfer portal. I want to spend some time in the top here because it got brought up in Rule's press conference, and we talk about it, but we really don't go into detail, I will say, on just the shift of college football, how it continues to move and change for the better or for the worse, however you want to view it. But the transfer portal, NIL, a big factor that the conferences shifting around and teams. Now there's going to be a brand new Pac-12 in the last few weeks. Everything is so much different. Now, one argument is that it's always been changing every 10, 20 years, 30 years. But I think we're just seeing it change so much quicker and we're living in it. So we're not really seeing the long-term impacts of it while we're living in the change. So I think the biggest thing to emphasize or highlight here, and I think we're seeing it a little bit, is it's going to be hard to build a dynasty anymore for extended periods of time. You guys name any dynasties? I mean, Nebraska, we can name that one. I think the recent one, you can talk about the Alabama dynasty.
Alabama. Would you count Georgia, the 3-year run? That's a little – I think 5 years has to be a dynasty.
See, that's the question, though. Now, in modern world, I guess Georgia's towards the beginning of this changing college football landscape with the playoff. But, I mean, think about back in the day, some of these teams that went on runs. I mean, Dak, I was hoping you'd throw out your Oklahoma team.
The Minnesota Gophers in the 50s?
This year?
Not this year, but Oklahoma had some years where they were running towards the top there for a while.
Yeah, but I wouldn't call them a dynasty. They never won it all. Would you call the Chiefs right now a dynasty?
That's a good question.
Because I think if you call them a dynasty, I think you call Georgia a dynasty then.
I don't know if I'd call them a dynasty. There hasn't been enough player turnover.
Okay, Dak, did you just say Oklahoma's never won it all? 2000
was their last one.
No.
2001.
No, how many national titles does your team, the Oklahoma Sooners, have?
5.
You don't know, do you?
Nope, but it's 5.
Oh, boy.
It is 5.
No, it's 16.
Okay. I'm talking about the 80s here.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Dak, we're talking about the change of the college football landscape from the past to the present. We're not just talking about the last 10 years. We talked about Nebraska. I was going to say Oklahoma in the 50s.
Okay.
Because they won, you probably don't even know. They won
clue.
5 national titles in the 50s. They also won
Damn
4.
good teams.
They also won 4 in the 70s. So I'm talking about teams like that historically have been able to put together long strings of success over a decade, right? I just don't know that you're going to see that ever again, maybe. That's the point I'm trying to make, is that all these moving parts, it's harder to build a dynasty and a culture. And if you do, I mean, props to you. You beat the system. But I think now what you're seeing in any given year, it is more competitive at the top. It's not 5 teams. There are a lot of competitive teams at the top, and there will be year after year.
I agree. I also think it is tough to define what a dynasty is. But yeah, I think the NIL, it spreads out the talent. I don't remember, maybe it was Rule. Someone was saying it, where basically maybe it was Nick Saban, where the best players now would you rather be like, Tulane? They've got all this money to spend. Some boosters are like, yeah, we're not going to be able to get the number 1 overall recruit, but the number 10 overall recruit, he might take our money and be the number 1 guy on our team versus being the number 3 guy on Georgia. Like, that's how it's just going to spread it out to where it's just going to be a wider depth of talent across every team, in theory. Not going to be this a mass talent where Alabama has all the top players, Ohio State has all of the top players. They're still going to be heavily favored, but not as much as it was.
The only thing that I think would make it easier for a dynasty is I think it's easier to keep a quarterback in college now.
True.
In top players than it used to be, because
after 3 years, you're not jumping to get paid.
Yeah, you can get paid in college now, I think, but he's also getting offers from every other school too, so he can go anywhere he wants. I just think it's too even out now, the NIL and transfer portal. At the top, Texas number 1 right now. They used to have Alabama and Georgia, where you just knew going in the year they're going to win it all. Now it's toss up every year. You have no idea.
It is.
What does Texas have that is helping them be? I'm going to call it Texas is back.
4-year starter.
They have money.
No income tax.
They have money. And what do these other schools that are around the top have? Money. What does Nebraska have that hopefully will pay off for us here in the next 5 or 10 years? Money.
How they got their 5-star.
If you follow the money trail, that's where things are heading in college football. And I'll just say it, in society in general. You look at the conferences. Where are the teams going? To the conferences that have these big TV deals and where the money's at. Again, for the better, for the worse, I don't know. And unfortunately, right now, fortunately or unfortunately, I keep saying it because I don't know if it's good or bad. I don't know my take on it. College football and college sports is going to be very individualized, all about me for the athlete's perspective. And it probably should be, because they're finally getting paid. It's going to be like that for a while. And you're going to see these crazy NIL deals. You're going to potentially see contracts, agents, these athletes become employees.
No more national letter of intent. Colleges can directly pay students.
It's
can't you get paid in high school
that way? And so I guess the point is, when you have that, what I think you're seeing is, you're right. Your Alabamas, your Georgias, your Clemsons, these Ohio States, these teams, now a lot of them are still good. I'm not calling them not good. It's so much more balanced because, like you said, the best players are actively seeking out what is the best deal I can make, what is the best team that I can play on and play and make as much money. And that's getting spread out right now amongst your top teams. What will be interesting is, will we ever see the turn like we kind of did in the NBA a little bit now with the Golden State Warriors, right? Where teams kind of start sacrificing a little bit of salary to say, all right, I'm going to go play on a winning team again because I want to win more than I care about myself. That could be something that shifts in 5 or 10 years. I don't know if society will ever go back to that. But I think it's fast. I think it's fast. That's my take on it right now. Because right now, individual sport, not individual sport, but individual mind of I want to get paid. I don't think there's anything wrong with that right now.
It's also interesting because I don't know if you've been following at the high school level in the Omaha area. I don't know. Did you read the Bennington football story? How basically all their good players are going to West Side because they're able to transfer and get, better school. Mm-hmm. And now there's a couple Class A programs. There's a consolidation of talent within the Class A of the Nebraska State football program that's basically siphoning Class B and lower Class A talent. And it's creating a couple of schools that have had to fold their football seasons because they can't maintain their football players because they just don't have enough students who are playing football for them because they're going to rival schools because they're getting offered better things. So, I mean, it's not just at the college level.
Mm-hmm. And that's the start right there of in the high school level, probably of how a lot of this transfer type of thing happened at college, right? Because your accessibility to view other schools, to attend other schools with technology and get there, back in the day with technology and stuff, you didn't know. I mean, you had no idea if you were in Nebraska what the heck was going on in Oregon. I mean, you had no idea. There's no way to find out. You just knew Oregon was playing a game every week against somebody, but now it's a completely different world. It's high school starting to see it. You're able to move and do different things so much easier.
Dylan Raiola played at 3 different.
There you go. 4.
Yeah, I think 4.
They weren't even all in the same state. I mean, yeah, like it's pretty wild what's going on.
On
the right side.
The only thing what you said about the super team taking less money, I can't see that happening in college because the way these kids are probably looking at it is you got 4 years to make as much money as you can. Who knows what's going to happen in the pros? So I think they'll just follow the money and make it to 4 years, then they'll go pro and test out from there. I don't think they'll sacrifice any money, but you never know. I
mean, even at the pro level, that doesn't happen.
No,
look at the NBA now. It is very spread out now. Dak wants to say the Celtics can start their own dynasty here, but
they can't pay everyone. That's why the owner's trying to sell the freaking Celtics. They're like, all right, we're going to be in the luxury tax for the next 15 years.
Yep, we gotta cut our best pickup of the offseason because we can't pay the luxury tax. So there you go.
Yep.
So we spent a lot of this time talking about the big teams, the big markets, the money making conferences. The most negative impact I think could come to the lower conferences and schools that don't have the money to self-sustain, and what could happen in that scenario where all of the money in college football specifically is going to these top teams. How do these smaller programs exist, right? I think that's more to see how to come. But for right now, they're benefiting from it in the same sense that top tier Division I schools are pulling from them. They're pulling from other schools as well. Then there's this middle level, I think, that doesn't get talked about. And I would, I guess, put Nebraska in there, but your Indianas right now, right, that are a part of, in football anyways, a power conference. They're not necessarily a football school, but they have the ability to get a coach. And what does this coach do? Say, I'm from James Madison. I'm just going to bring all my players with me because I can. And guess what? We have more money. So, yeah, if you don't want to come, well, here's an extra $500,000 to come play if you want. And then you see what's happening at a school like Indiana now, who's 6-0 and trending upwards right now in the Big Ten. Nebraska, I say, is also in that same boat. It'll be interesting to see how those mid-level schools, which ones take advantage of it and have the ability to. I think Nebraska is very high on that list because of the money that is going into the program. Indiana, obviously basketball is going to be a big staple there. And you're going to see probably a lot of benefits there as well as what they're seeing in football. But then a team like Purdue, is it going to almost hurt Purdue, relatively speaking, as to how the separation might come in the Big Ten? I don't know. This year it doesn't look great for them in football, but we'll see. Like, I think that's where my head's going is who's it helping, who's it hurting, and then like short term and then long term, what's going to be the impact?
Look who has the most amount of money in Big Ten. Look who's at the top, Oregon.
Yep.
So, and I don't think their money's ever going to go away.
Oh.
The Nike, they won't ever. So the Oregon's never going to fall off, and Ohio State, they'll always have money. Michigan, Dave Portnoy said he's going to pay the top quarterback in the what do you say, $2 million? He's going to put it out there. Yeah, so it'll just be a Barstool sponsored player. Yeah, people will just start throwing money anywhere.
So we say that the rich get richer, but the rich are still getting spread out amongst the richer. So, I mean, guys, what this is heading towards is, depending on how many good players are out there, it's heading towards an NFL, NBA type of system. Like, I've always said that's where it's going, and it's going to end up there. I still think that's where it's going to go. And to me, there's a lot that has to get done between now and then for it to work well. Otherwise, it's going to be a disaster if they try doing it too soon. So I think we're going there. I don't know if it's 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, but that's the direction it's headed with the money and all of these things that are impacting college sports.
Now, how mad are you if you're like, let's say, Johnny Manziel or Baker Mayfield? You missed getting paid by 10 years, 5 years.
So
Manziel would have been unlimited amount of money in college.
Not to get into all of the exact numbers behind it, but I mean, there have been lawsuits already that are backdating some of these payments to these athletes. The most recent one, I think, was Terrell Pryor. I just saw last week that went to the NCAA and said, I'm filing suit against the NCAA, Ohio State, Big Ten, whoever you get money out of, and saying I should have gotten paid. Guys, it's not good. That's not promising for the NCAA and all these lawsuits, because you're right, Dak. Like, these players are going to say we have right to compensation too, and should have had rights. So that's where I don't know. Like,
how do you put a value on that though?
That's the courts. That's your society. That's your judicial system. It's hard. I mean, it's difficult because the one that happened that I don't remember exactly, it's out there in the news. The settlement amount was like, I don't even remember what it was. A lot less than what they actually requested, but what they requested for was billions of dollars to pay all these athletes. I mean, think about how many there are, right, that are out there. So it's crazy. It's a crazy world. I thought it was worth talking about because we don't dive into it much, but it's good to revisit because we're living in it, and you don't really realize it unless you take a step back and think about what's happening over the past few years in college sports, but college football being the biggest one that is impacting.
Speaking of conference realignment, did you guys see the news that SEC Big Ten are looking to do a football challenge similar to the ACC Big Ten?
Oh, that'd be awesome. That would be awesome. I mean, I think eventually they're just going to join together. You're going to have, because how many teams are in the Big Ten right now?
18.
And I think there's 18 in the SEC. I think they'll do 24 and 24 and just make a super conference. And then the other ones, they'll get the Big 12 to join in on both sides and then leave the other conferences to do whatever they need to do. That's the way I think it'll go.
That's what I was kind of saying with the NFL, NBA type of system, because in their meeting to talk about trying to lock themselves into 4 teams each in the playoffs, which I think is bold, worthy. I think maybe it's going to change about every other year now. I mean, it's funny thinking back to when the playoff got implemented, right? Like, it got passed and we're like, oh my gosh, playoffs not for another 3 years or whatever. And then we were like, oh, the 8-team or 12-team playoff, we got to wait. Like, things are going to be moving pretty quick.
Bring in relegation, man. That's what I want.
Mm-hmm. I love that idea.
They tried to change this to a 16 playoff before they even did the 12.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we haven't even played 1 year of it yet.
No, it's going to be. I think the max it'll be is 32, but it'll get there.
What teams in the SEC do you want to play? If there's a Big Ten SEC, I mean, I feel like there's obvious answers.
That's the argument is like, do we want to in our non-conference to help ourselves out for making the playoffs play one of these schools, right? Obviously, we're not a top-tier Big Ten team yet, so we're not going to get the Alabamas, Georgias, Texases. But I mean, they're going to throw us against Missouri and A&M and Oklahoma and Texas because of the Big 12. They're going to do that early on. I do think it'd be fun to play some of these other schools. Don't get me wrong, because it'd be fun to travel to your Arkansas, LSU's, Ole Miss. Like those would be fun games. But we're going to get the old Big 12 rivalries first out of that.
Yeah. I saw someone online pitch the idea of every year you just match up 1v1, 2v2, 3v3. So wherever you ranked the previous year, that's who you get matched up with the next year.
And that's the way I thought when you said that. That's the way I thought they would do it. Maybe not right off the bat, but I mean, that'd probably be the easiest.
Kind of do that for basketball. Like it's not exact science, but
yeah.
Your lower teams are playing your lower teams in the conference for sure. Like Nebraska, the 1 year I think we got Villanova in the Big Ten Big East Challenge was the year that we were coming off the NCAA tournament with Petaway and all of them. So like they try to do that a little bit, but it's not an exact science.
It's Big Ten ACC Challenge right now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're never playing North Carolina. I don't know who you probably play Boston College in basketball.
We played Boston College. We played Clemson. We played.
Yeah, you never played
North Carolina State.
Yeah, those are Wake Forest. I think like those kind of teams. Okay, let's move on here. Indiana preview. What people actually came to listen to. The Hoosiers. Oh, Siri's talking to me. The Hoosiers are 6-0, ranked 16th or 18th, depending on what poll you're looking at. New head coach Kurt Signetti coming from James Madison. Google him.
He's a character.
He's a character. He also knows how to win. Their schedule has, I guess, been favorable. I did write this down there. Combined opponents record is 14-23.
Yep.
Their strength of schedule right now is 112th of 134. Now, I say that stat because guess what? Nebraska's is 117th of 134 nationally. So it's not like we've had the toughest schedule either. They beat Florida International, Western Illinois, and Charlotte in the non-conference, and then they beat the crap out of UCLA on the road, and then beat Maryland 2 weeks ago, and then beat Northwestern on the road by 17. Wasn't really a 17-point game. It was a lot closer than that, but they are 6-0, and they put up, I don't know what they're averaging exactly for points, but they're scoring 40-plus a game, and that's putting them, fourth nationally in scoring and sixth nationally defensive scoring. So they are a quote-unquote top 10 team when you look at it from that stat metrics. Rule came out and said it in his press conference that they're a top 10 caliber team. And here we are getting to go to Bloomington for a big-time matchup, big noon kickoff on Saturday. First question, I guess, are you surprised, Austin, that, Indiana's getting all this hype, this love from the national media at this point in the season?
They average 47.5 points a game. I do think that part of their ranking is a product of just being 6-0 and being a Big Ten team. I think just like had we not lost to Illinois, we probably would have been higher than Indiana just because of the way teams fell ahead of them. And so I know that's why, you look through the stats and you say they're a top 10 team, but I don't know if anyone really thinks – I think that's they're factoring in their schedule and they're looking at their ranking. They're like, okay, they haven't really played anyone good, but we can't knock them for obliterating the people they have played. I would say most people are. I'm definitely surprised at how good they are. I don't think. Now, admittedly, we didn't look at their schedule, but they're definitely better than we thought they were. Their coach kind of was a little cringy at the Big Ten media days. He kind of gave off Scott Frosty vibes, saying the Big Ten has to adjust to him, which felt okay. But yeah, they're better than what everyone thought. 16 seems high, but like I said, I think it's just a product of you win all your games and you won 2 games by a shit ton. But I think that inflates your offensive numbers a little bit. But I mean, that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to win your games. I'm not going to blame them for that.
Yeah, they have played the worst Big Ten teams you could play. But they're 6-0. You got to rank them by now. I do think. Do you guys think this is probably the biggest game in Indiana football history so far?
They had Michael Penix a couple years ago where they were actually good. I don't remember how.
Yeah, they were, but you couldn't have fans there.
True, that's true.
Yeah.
I mean, when was the last time big noon kickoff?
They were 6-0 that year, weren't they? Or are they 5-0? They were something.
I don't remember.
I can't remember. They were good that year though, but their coach brought in everybody from James Madison, and James Madison was a powerhouse last year. So, and they could score on the ball, or they could score anytime they went last year too. I really like their quarterback they have. Yeah.
I mean, their coach is 125-35. I mean, that's a pretty good coaching record.
Kurt knows how to win, and you mentioned the James Madison transfers. There are a lot, right? But there's only 5 starters on defense and 3 on offense. So, like, it's not like it's their whole team. You combine it with some of the pieces that Indiana had last year. Here's the expectation for Indiana. Why, yeah, people say their schedule is easy, and I'm highly guilty of that, saying that I just don't think Indiana is very good, and I still don't know. Dak, you had them 18th in your preseason rankings in the Big Ten out of 18 teams. Austin and I, we both had them at 17. And you look at the schedule, right? I guess going into the year, if I try to think on what I thought of Indiana, I didn't think they'd go 3-0 in non-conference. I mean, I get they played Florida International, Charlotte, and somebody else bad.
Western Illinois.
So I was like, I don't know, maybe they could. I guess they could win those 3, but then you're telling me that then they win their next 3 Big Ten teams. Again, granted, maybe not the best Big Ten teams, but they won them. So am I surprised?
No.
I mean, no, but yes. Like I didn't expect them to be 6-0. I guess going into the year, I would have said 4-2 at this point. Like, just I didn't think they'd beat UCLA. We all had UCLA ahead of them. We all had Northwestern ahead of them. We all had Maryland ahead of them in our power rankings. And guess what? They went 3-0 in those games. So yeah, they've done it. Like, credit to that program. They've done a really good job. Now, the flip side of that, I believe, are better than all 3 of those teams. Hopefully. Now, there's this tier of Big Ten teams that we all think are quote unquote decent and maybe comparable. Maybe we are comparable to all of those teams, but this probably will be their toughest game so far this year that they've seen. And all the pressure, I shouldn't say all, but a lot of the pressure is on them.
They're ranked.
They're undefeated. They've never been there. We've also never been there yet.
But we're not the ones being hunted. They're, like I said, they're the ones undefeated. Big noon kickoff. They're the ones who are ranked. It's at their house.
So there is obviously a lot of pressure. I don't want to say there's no pressure on us because there's a lot. Like, you want to flip that around and say Nebraska's 5-1. We haven't been 5-1 in how many years?
Bowl game on the line.
Bowl game on the line. You lose this. Let's start looking at our schedule. What games are we favored in the rest of the year? Like, there's pressure on our end too. And I think the team that can handle that pressure the best and know how to deal with it. And it's not something you'd say, okay, you wake up and say, I'm going to handle the pressure today. No, that's a long-term thing that you're instilled in your players' mindsets. And what do we know with our upperclassmen and how they've dealt with close games and pressure late in games. It hasn't been good. Now, I can't speak for anything that these Indiana players have because they obviously have not had much success, the Indiana players, but the James Madison players have. And Kurt Signetti, you mentioned his record as a head coach. He definitely has. They know how to win. So it's a huge game, that all the way full circle to your point. It is one of the biggest games for both teams on the schedule. And I don't think many people saw that coming into the year because of just who the teams were. I'm trying to see if I have my importance rankings up. I feel like I had them Indiana game pretty dang high in the importance rankings not because of all this stuff, but just given the fact that this is a team that I think we could or should beat. But we're 6.5-point dogs. I haven't even mentioned the spread yet.
Well, it started at 3.5. It's moved to 6.5 over the last week. I agree with you. I think we're on their level. I really like talent-wise and execution-wise and just where the programs, I think we're probably a little bit further ahead as far as where's the program at, just because this is our year 2 establishing Matt Rule culture. But I really do think that it's going to be a competitive game. Our strength matches up against their strength.
You actually just said something interesting. What does that mean though? If and I don't expect it. If it's a 1-score game and we lose, whatever, I don't expect them to beat us by 10 plus. What does that say though? I guess to everything, if we lose in Matt Rule's second year to a first-year head coach that went and grabbed guys from James Madison in a program that you could say is way behind us from a culture, from a
tradition standpoint.
Yeah, fans, all of that. Like, what does that say? It is at a high level. It doesn't look good.
No, I don't know who they paid off to get this schedule, but if they beat you guys, put your money down. They're only losing 1 game on the year. They go Washington, Michigan State, Michigan, Ohio State, Purdue after that. So I don't know how they got that easy a schedule. That's the easiest Big Ten schedule I ever saw, but you'll find out real quick if they're good or not.
Honestly, their schedule's pretty close to ours. Colorado's probably better than Colorado is better than any of their non-con games, and Illinois is better.
Yeah, by quite a bit, but Illinois is better than
any of their other Big Ten opponents outside of Ohio.
Yeah. I don't know if I believe in Indiana or not yet. God, they just haven't played anybody. I guess we'll find out real quick.
They put up 50 points a game on whoever. I know. That's not nothing.
We're going to find out a lot because I do think from a talent perspective, this is going to be the most talented team they've played on Saturday in Nebraska. Indiana, get into their personnel here. Dak, you mentioned their quarterback earlier, Curtis Rourke. He's a 6th year, 6'5", 223-pound player out of Ohio.
Was
recruited by guess who? Frank Solich. Long back in the day. His brother was recruited by Frank Solich, older brother. So Curtis Rourke was a 2022 MAC Player of the Year at Ohio. He's thrown for almost 1,800 yards this year, 14 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He's a big dude.
74% completion percentage.
I've heard comparisons of like Luke Altmaier, but just more experienced, which torched us. That scares me a little bit. He throws to several different guys. I'm not seeing really anyone that stands out entirely. Maybe their leading receiver, just from a stat standpoint, is Elijah Sarrett. I don't know if those are N's or R's in my notes.
There are
29 receptions, 513 yards, 2 touchdowns. Omar Cooper, Miles Price, Miles Cross. I mean, all these guys are catching balls from him. He spreads it around. They're going to be very balanced, running and passing the ball. I think all the teams we've played so far, we can say, besides Illinois, have had an identity of what they want to do, running or passing the ball. I think this is going to be a team that plays complementary football. Justice Ellison and Tyson Lawton are their two running backs. Justice averaging 6.4 yards a carry, which is pretty impressive. Offensive line is fairly young. I guess 3 sophomores, 2 seniors is what they start. I think the key here,
pressure.
Yes, and I think that's just going to be the talking point, and it might get beat in people's heads over and over. But if we can get pressure on Curtis Rourke and our defensive line, our front 7, which a lot of us can say has been the strength of our team.
And our DBs have actually looked like we've had some DBs pop up that's like, man, it's a deeper pool than we thought it was going to be at corner.
If we can do that and get pressure on Curtis Rourke and make him uncomfortable for a veteran that he is, I think we're going to do well in this game. If we can see from the get-go that their offensive line is doing a good job in pass pro and they're able to get 4 or 5 yards of carry, they're going to put up 40 points. Sorry to say, they're going to do it because it's not the type of offense that's going to be very predictable from a scheming standpoint. So I think how we have to win this game on the defensive side is by hoping a little bit that we have the better athletes and then scheming up the different blitzes and ways that we can get pressure. That's where the strategy comes in, is getting pressure on Curtis Rourke in the pocket. And if we can do that, I like our chances of holding them to 20 points. And I don't think anybody's done that, had the ability to do that because of the talent these teams that they played against. I think we will.
The thing that scares me the most, I would feel a lot more confident if they weren't coming off a bye week. I think our defensive scheme is unique enough that it kind of catches people off a little bit. And when you only have a week to prepare, you aren't quite ready for all the folds it throws at you. But the fact that they've had a bye week, I know we've had a bye week as well. Like, don't get me wrong, but I don't love the fact that their offense is really good, really balanced, and they've had an extra week to look at our defense and what we do well.
Now, like I said about the pressure part, you can't just let a 6-year quarterback sit back there because he'll pick you apart. You saw every defense in college you can see. It's just like Altmaier, like you said. He sat. I mean, you guys got pressure on him, but not enough. Where he sat back there and he's picked you apart. Like, he'll sit back, he'll read the field great against you. So you gotta get to him. Do you guys think he'll blitz all game, or what's defensive plan there?
I just think you got to be creative in how you do that, which has been the message all year for this defense. Is you can't be. I think that Illinois game, we got comfortable and thought that our front 4 could do their job and get home. And we talked about that in the recap pod of that game. We have to utilize our linebackers and secondary in a way that confuses a veteran quarterback that has seen it all. So I do think you're going to see a lot of blitzes, and that might come at the sacrifice of potentially some big plays. The risk reward there. We haven't shown a whole lot of that this year yet, and maybe you can argue we haven't had to based on some of the opponents we've played. Given Rutgers what they want to do, Purdue what they want to do, running the ball. So I think we're going to see a little bit different game plan on the defensive side, which I think is a good thing. I don't think we should be scared by that, but I also think that could come with a few big plays that we might have to swallow, but there could be some high risk, high reward. And if you force a couple of turnovers, which we've done a tremendous job of this year and haven't in the past, on the road, like, those are huge defining moment plays. And there's going to be 4 or 5 plays that really define this game. I really believe that because of the way this game's going to go. So I do. I think being creative is the big answer there on the defense.
They've only kicked 4 field goals all year.
I was just going to bring up special teams on that.
Yeah.
It'll excite you guys. The game will probably come down to kicking. So there you go. Advantage Nebraska, right?
Maybe on the running end.
Well, you don't know, actually. Only 4 field goals. Has he made all 4?
He's made all 4.
Okay. I'd give the advantage to them then.
Who
is kicking?
I completely agree. Talking about the special teams is a huge thing. We can't beat ourselves with it. Like, we can't have negative special teams plays is the most important thing. I'm not saying we have to be spectacular on special teams because I don't know that we have the ability to.
Black shirt Bushini can't get blocked twice.
Black shirt Bushini. I love that. But yeah, we can't get blocked. I mean, if we miss a couple of field goals, like, I'm expecting it at this point. Obviously, if we drill them, great. Hopefully Alvano maybe is back. Well, I think maybe, hopefully, I don't know. I guess he's probably a better, but it's a whole unit. So we can't get a field goal blocked, right? In return for 60 yards for a touchdown. If it gets blocked, hopefully the ball's where it was kicked from. We also got to be able to make them if we decide to kick them. Maybe the decision on 4th and 3 from the 20 is, let's go for it instead. And I'd be okay with that. I don't think many people are going to question that play call at this point in the season. The coaching staff has spent lengths talking about that. At what point in time? 4th and 6 from the 20. I don't know. Like, what do you do? That's the question that the coaching staff has to decide on. When it comes to kicking these field goals in games like this. That's why they get paid the big bucks.
You got to give Gus Johnson a good show so he can hype you up next week. He's following you all around the nation. He'll be back calling the game next week.
I do like Gus Johnson and Joel Klatt. I really do.
I do too. It just feels like a big game. I wish it wasn't at noon that they call games, but.
Okay, let's move to the other side of the ball. Indiana's defense. They run a 4-2-5 multiple look. We're going to see a lot of different fronts. Here's the question, the headline this week that I hear everybody talking about, but I think it's worth talking about here as well, is the rushing attack and what can Nebraska get going on the ground in the second half of the year. Rule mentioned that he thought we've done a good job of getting, 4 to 5 yard runs. Maybe. I guess I don't know. Some people I think would argue that they don't really know that they're seeing that either. But he wants, the big explosive runs, the big explosive plays from these running backs. Guys, the more that I watch other college football teams, it's a combination of everything why the rushing game is, I'll call it stale right now. But you have a guy like Cam Scatabo from Arizona State. Like, I think it makes a world of difference in our running game. And I've always said too, the offensive line, it starts there. It still does. There's no doubt in that. You have a good offensive line that can build holes. Anybody can run the ball. But when you're talking about extending 4 yards to 8 yards or 10 yards to 60 yards, right, that's where dynamic backs come into play. And we have 4
good
solid
backs.
5 out of 10 backs, 5 to 6 out of 10. Like, that's great. I don't think there's how many teams in the country can say they have 4 guys that are a 5 or 6 out of 10.
Not many.
Maybe 0 besides us. So that's not a bad thing. But when you're looking to have explosive runs, it'd be nice to have one guy that's a 7 or 8 out of 10 at running back that can do the things that I just mentioned. There's guys out there. We've played against a couple of them. I don't know that we have that, and that's where I'm a little bit concerned is, can our run game ever get going?
How long before we can just trade for Ashton Genty midseason?
Yeah, like watching a guy like that.
Just, hey, here's our NIL money. We'll trade you Dowdell and Thomas Fedoni.
Ooh, that's a good question. Would you do that right now? Fedoni and Dowdell for Genty?
Yes.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
Yes. With $500,000, you'd have to send.
Oh yeah.
Okay, follow-up question: is there any single player out there that you trade for Dylan Raiola, given Raiola's a freshman this year?
No.
Right. They have to come in and start like as your record is right now.
Yep. Is there any single player out there that you would do a 1-to-1 trade with?
Maybe Cam Ward, maybe. But the fact that he's a freshman, I don't think I would.
Dylan Gabriel?
No. Dylan Gabriel's not going to make your receivers better.
Arch Manning.
I don't know.
That's one guy for Dylan Wright.
No, I don't think there's.
Yeah, I wouldn't do Dylan Gabriel because he's gone instantly. Arch Manning would be the one that
you'd consider. He still has a red shirt ability. No, he redshirted last year, didn't he?
Yeah, no, he's got 3 years left.
Yeah, that's a good question.
I think you'd be stupid to say you wouldn't trade Arch Manning for Raiola, but if you're guaranteed,
you'd keep Raiola. I think it's pretty negligible between the two, and then you have the family.
That would be a good poll to put out there. Arch Manning or Dylan Raiola, who would you rather have for the future?
Oh God, I think. Are you posting on ESPN or are you posting on the Husker podcast?
How about
Dak, considering I don't have my ESPN credentials, probably the Husker podcast.
We'll post it tonight. I bet it'd be a little different if you post on ESPN, but
anyways, back to the offense versus defense. I will say it's comforting to know that their defense has given up 24 plus the last two Big Ten games against Northwestern and Maryland, and I think our offense is better than Northwestern and Maryland. So that's where I feel a little bit better. Now, granted, both those games they scored 42 or 41 and 42, so their defense is probably playing a little bit different with the lead. But I feel better knowing that offenses have scored on them.
Yeah, but have they scored on them because they build up all these big leads? The defense gets a little bit more relaxed. Like when you build a big lead, you let teams drive down the field slowly on you.
That wasn't what happened in Indiana Northwestern. I know that.
No, but that's the one game that's got to give you hope is that Northwestern hung with them because Northwestern sucks.
Maybe they also could just be another decent team.
Yeah.
I wouldn't put them maybe in that decent category that we talked about on Sunday, but you know that's what you want to think is our offense is, even though it's not very good, hasn't shown to be great. It's better than last year, and you would think that maybe it's better or as good as Northwestern, Maryland, right? And then our defense is much better, hopefully, one of the top in the Big Ten, hopefully, is where we're seeing it. So like that's why I look at a game like this and you look at their scores, you look at our scores, and you think, okay, which way is this going to go? We're winning games 14-7, 28-10. I guess we scored a little more against Colorado. They're winning games 41-24. Right? If the game stays in the high teens, low 20s, I like our chances. Like that tells me that we're winning the game.
If it becomes a shootout, we're not winning. That's why we lost Illinois. It became a shootout.
Yeah, I don't have a good feeling if our defense can't stop them. Now, Raiola did some amazing things that game, right, to keep us in it. I just don't think that's our style of football. That's not what we preach. And once that game got in that style with Illinois, it was, oh boy, like, all right, Raiola, try to bail us out if you can. And
he got close a couple times. He
did a great job. And then we got to overtime, and it was the worst overtime performance in the history of college football. So I think for us to win, and I think we do have a decent chance to win, it's going to have to be 21-17, 17-14, 24-17 type of game. It's not going to be 41-37 like Dak's predicted every week. And
yeah, now do I come up with a prediction again, 56-52 or what? I actually have 72-68 written down as my no.
Well, I mean, that I will say my score prediction. I'm going to do it. I'm going to say it. I'm going 21-20 Nebraska.
Whoa! What? This whole week you said they're going to lose. Whoa! What?
I'm going to the game and breaking the streak.
You just said 30 minutes ago there's no shot we win this game.
Because I'm going.
Okay.
Dak, you still don't understand my sarcasm there. Like my record on the road's 2-14. So when I say that I'm going and I lose, I always just say that like that's not my actual score prediction, but at the same time I'm like I don't win road games when I go.
It would be interesting to see what the spread was for all those games. You know?
Oh, I know one of them.
Like I jokingly say that like people like you will laugh. I'm the problem, guys. I'm not the problem. Like in all realistic, there's not That's not possible, right? But
how many of those games were Scott Frost coach games you went to?
We don't need to go through my 2-14 record. It's very poor. I got a road win at Purdue and a road win at Illinois. Clearly me being there does not impact everything, but at the same time, it's fun to say that I'm the problem. I think we're going to win. I do. I think we were going into the year. I think we were like a 4-point favorite, I believe, in like the preseason lines. What has changed really since the first of the year? Indiana's looked probably a little better. Where are we at compared to what we expected? I would not say
expected.
Rough. So I don't think Indiana is as hyped as everybody's making them up to me, and all the pressure on them. Not all, most, because we have a lot on us too. I'm taking us this week, just enough to get my hopes blown away and me to be sad driving back from Bloomington on Sunday like I am every other road game. But I think we're going to win this game, and I think we're going to win it close.
It is interesting also because it opened at 3.5.
Yeah, which one of you guys put money on them?
Which I didn't put any money on them. But
it's weird. It's weird. I mean, I usually don't like betting on our game. I don't think I have this year yet, to be honest. I think I'm going to bet on Nebraska. I just feel like it's a good spot.
Oh, this is just all teeing up for a very sad Sunday. I can feel it.
You're waiting for me to come on, and I don't even know what my emotions will be.
Hey,
Sunday.
the Saints play, though.
I can already feel the
Texans
coming in.
Thursday.
Okay, well.
Nice try.
I can feel the Texans coming in, have to find a way. Big embarrassment. I can already feel those text messages. They're probably already typed up in your phone. I actually have us losing 28-17.
Oof.
Oh, boy.
I just am terrified of their offense, and I just think if they get a big lead, our offense, they seem to find them getting in their own way.
God, I would definitely take that 6.5 spread for Nebraska. I don't think they're going to win by more than 6, but God dang it, I still don't know who's going to win this. Can I tell you Sunday what's my score prediction is? I'll go.
What was that supposed
I'll
to
go
be?
20-17 Nebraska.
What'd you say?
20-17 Nebraska.
20-17. Okay. All right.
So is that a missed extra point or 2 field goals?
Probably makes an extra point. Maybe we go for 2.
Okay, 21-17. You ain't making a field goal.
But we could miss an extra point.
Easily, yeah.
All right.
Well, that's
all right.
That's
Survivor picks for one of us.
Oh, let's see. Yeah, that's this week. I got Tulane over Rice. I got Wazoo, Washington State over Hawaii. SMU over Stanford. And the unstoppable Vanderbilt over Ball State.
Now, how do you still have all these low tier teams? What are you just pulling these out of nowhere or what?
I've got
if
it.
I still have by this point, I would have to take Georgia beating Texas or something like that.
I'm saving them all.
Yeah, I do got to cross check Austin's teams. I've
yeah,
sure he has,
yeah. We need to check this out. No way.
I've got a spreadsheet that I've been typing them in and supposed to highlight if they're duplicates. So
I pick duplicates every week. We did. I didn't. I forgot to keep track.
And Dak still lost. Dak, on your end, look at you. You are on a heater. Going
what am I the
7-3.
last 2 weeks? I'd be last 2 weeks 18-7. Last 2 weeks.
You are 5-3 on your locks. Your lock did not hit. Your lock of the year, to be more specific, did not hit. Why you do that with Oklahoma, I don't know. But you were a very sad person on Saturday.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your overall record on the year is 56-44-1. You're hitting at a 54.5%. That's right where you want to be if you want to win some money. So right now is the turning point to either go above or below that. You're having a good year. You're hot. Everybody should tell his picks. And Dak, before coming on the pod, said he just wrote down 10 picks, but he loves all 10 of them. He feels really confident in all 10 of them.
He said, I love all 10. I'm confident in all of them. Well, except for that one.
Before we do these picks, I just want to hype myself up more. I am 6-0 on NFL locks this year.
There you go.
As am I.
I don't know why we haven't done those of both, but okay.
All right, Dak. Well, you're not on any time crunch here, so go through, say your games. Do you want to give some reasoning? You're no longer on a clock.
Okay, I really don't have too much reasoning about this, but all right, we'll do one game right now off the bat Wednesday night. It might have already kicked off. Who knows? FIU -7 against UTEP. Pause up. Boston College +7.5 against Virginia. I don't know if Castellanos hurt or something. I think Boston College is better than Virginia. Now here's my lock. Duke -3 against Florida State. I have no idea how it's that close. Duke's 5-1. Florida State is ass. I think they're 1-5. You flip those records, and it's only a 3-point spread. Next one, Purdue +27.5 against Oregon. Purdue, you don't want to play them on Friday night.
Okay, so we have time to talk about this. If you see the stat of Purdue's last 3 games against the number 2 AP ranked team
at night. Yeah,
they did lose their last one, I think, last year to.
Was it Ohio State? They kicked this year.
They beat Ohio State 48-20 back 5 years ago in Purdue.
In Iowa a couple of years ago, I think it was.
Yep, Iowa was the other one.
I don't love that spread, but I only took it because of that. All right, next one. BYU -9.5 against Oklahoma State. Did you guys see what happened to Mike Gundy this weekend?
No.
Got a concussion from a bull headbutting him. On the bye week.
From a what biting him?
A bull headbutted him.
Oh, yes.
That's
That's a lock.
They suck. Their quarterback is all of us and all of us combined. Virginia +2.5 against Clemson. I hate Clemson. Next one, Missouri +4.5 against Auburn. I think Auburn's offense is awful. Missouri is not as good as I thought they'd be. And honestly, I probably should take an Auburn because we need Missouri to keep losing. All right, next one. Oklahoma +1.5 against South Carolina.
Hold on. You're going through this like you're on a timer. You can slow down and talk about your picks.
Me and you want Missouri to keep losing. Then we'll just say that. We also want Oklahoma to keep losing. But we'll go Oklahoma +1.5 against South Carolina. You guys know the reason behind that. All right, next one. These next two, I want to know what you guys think about both these. Tennessee +3 against Bama. I'm not impressed with either of these teams. I think Alabama's defense really sucks, and I think Tennessee's is a little bit better. I just took them because they're home. Next one, Georgia +5 against Texas. You know the reason behind I took that. I hate Texas. All right. Boom. Now, what do you guys think about those last 2 games?
Stop the watch that you didn't have a stopwatch on. Tennessee Bama game. I have no idea. No idea.
I don't either.
I lean Alabama, but I have no idea how either of these teams are going to respond. Tennessee, I thought was decent. They have not looked great for the past 2 weeks. Alabama, we've seen what happened to them. Who knows? Austin, what do you have on that one? Anything?
I think I like Tennessee.
Yeah, I
do just because they're home.
Yeah.
Both teams I thought were great early in the season and have fallen off the map.
I don't know what the implied home field advantage is. Obviously, it's maybe a little bit different in college based on the environment, but I know
NFL, isn't it?
Yeah, NFL is 3. I would guess college is maybe a little bit more.
4.5 probably.
Getting to the Georgia-Texas game, I think that's about right. You give me Georgia-Texas right now on a neutral field, I don't know who the heck I'm taking.
I don't know which quarterback I'm taking.
Part of me leans Georgia in this game too. I think I like Georgia a little more than I like Alabama. But I hate they're both on the road, Alabama and Georgia. I just don't. it's scary. And Texas, I think right now has got all the targets on their back right now, and pressure and all of that, especially how they just drilled Oklahoma, and everyone thinks that, well, even us, maybe Texas is the one team. They're going to slip up. I think this week's the best week to do it. I don't know.
Well,
that's why I would think.
Those other three teams are win or go home, kind of. They're SEC. You could probably lose 5 games; they'll still make it. But it should be win or go home for Bama, Tennessee, and Georgia.
Well, I mean, if you just have to be in the top 12, they're all going to be in the top 12.
Yeah, but 4 of those spots, they have to be in the top 8 because 4 of those spots will be taken.
True, but realistically, 4 of those spots are going to be
5 of those spots will be taken. You got to be top 7.
But one of those still could be them.
That's true.
I hope.
I
I
mean,
really hope.
if Georgia or Alabama lose, they're probably not in the championship game. It's going to be Texas and Texas A&M, realistically.
No, yeah, they're. Yeah,
if you lose 2
Alabama
SEC games, you're probably not in the SEC championship.
See, if,
No,
if Texas wins this week, I think they could lose this week, and then it's all open again. I mean, yeah, you're right. If they win this week,
A&M in there, yeah. Too much SEC talk.
Dak, get back to the Big Ten. You want to know my favorite pick of the week?
Purdue.
I don't think you had it on there. Iowa, -5.5. Guys, Iowa's good.
Iowa's real good.
They're good. Against Michigan State, I like that a lot. I know they're at Michigan State. I think they're better all around than Michigan State.
See, everybody gave up on them after the Iowa State loss. Well, look what Iowa State's like now.
Right. Well, yeah, their running back's really freaking good.
Mm-hmm.
Right back.
Shocker.
Cade McNamara was fucking lighting money on fire.
What?
Cade McNamara, didn't they pay him like $500,000? They lit that money on fire.
I liked something about the mayor. I was like, what are you talking about?
Cade McNamara, that guy sucks. But they don't need a quarter. Why don't they throw $3 million at a quarterback? Like, can they not go find one? They tried, I guess.
Maybe they don't want to.
And they got in trouble for it.
Who wants to go play quarterback at Iowa? Based on
they got in trouble for trying to throw money at a quarterback.
All right. Well, wish us luck, boys. Wish me luck on my road adventure.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Thanks, Dak. More of a rhetorical question, but be back on Sunday, probably with a bunch of tears and depressed emotions, but that's what we do here on the Return to Glory podcast.
Hope you're wrong.
Hope I'm wrong. Hope I'm right with my score prediction.
There you go.
All right. Go Big Red.
GBR.
Boomer Sooner. Skull beat the Lions.